What do you think is identity?
Identity is who I think I am.
I would say identity has to do a lot with your point of view of the world. Politics happening around what your parents believed in.
Later in life, if you want to change your identity better, you need to be more reflective.
How do you think identity is formed?
Partly is genetic. The person I'm becoming is what family I'm born into.
And then you kind of get what you want. Then you see the pointlessness of that. And that also triggers a kind of identity crisis.
Change is okay. You're never done learning, and change is till you die.
Try to see it as you constantly evolving as a person and you becoming more fit for the world. This is an unscripted video about identity crisis. A lot of us are having a hard time understanding ourselves and question who we are. This conversation sheds light on that. I hope you see it till the end and have a great time doing it. Please feel free to subscribe. It means a lot to me. So, what do you think is identity?
Identity is who I think I am, and also who I think others see me as, how I see the world seeing me as. It's my beliefs, maybe religious beliefs or political beliefs, any beliefs, and how I see the world. What are my values? Personality traits.
So identity would be something else like a complex mix of traits, beliefs, values, or anything that you kind of believe that this is me, right? Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
How do you think that is formed? How do you think identity is formed?
Partly is genetic. It's like the person I'm becoming is what family I'm born into and with what genes I'm born into. Since I was a kid, what kind of religious beliefs, political beliefs I've been taught, I've been hearing on TV, what kind of kids I used to play with, So it starts from the childhood up.
True.
And you continue building on that as you go in life, and you continuously change, but I guess there's a core of you, you would say a part of you that shouldn't be moving in a way so that you always stay self, whatever it is. Maybe it's just the feeling of it.
Yeah, I would say identity has to do a lot with your point of view of the world, which is shaped by society, about politics happening around, what your parents believed in, who's the kind of friends you were hanging out with. So I would say every single day, whatever you do, it does form your identity. It kind of makes you who you are.
In a way, yeah.
What do you think about identity crisis? How do you define identity crisis?
I think it's hard to say. When you say identity crisis, first I would think of like middle age crisis. That's the first thought I get. But it can happen, I guess, regardless of age.
Let's explain. What do you think about middle age crisis? What is the first thing?
It's a type of identity crisis.
Yeah.
I guess you hit an age in life where you start to question who you are again, maybe after you raised your kids. And you feel like you're what now or whatever. Maybe you feel young again. And it doesn't go together with the fact that you're maybe like 50. 45, I don't know.
I really don't get. So for me, for example, if someone says like, oh, I'm having an identity crisis, how I would relate it to it is more like you have a point of view about the world, how things are, and how you kind of get into this, how you work with the world. And then suddenly you start seeing that me as a person, even though I'm working from my point of truth, doesn't fit into certain scenarios. So you start questioning who I am. So I would say...
Sounds logical.
It sounds very logical in a way. Like one example could be you're born into this family who wants you to be a doctor, and you are constantly asked that this is the expectation from you. You have to study well.
And maybe you have done it and listened to your parents, but then when you maybe start working with it or right before you finish your studies, you realize, shit, this is not who I am. I really feel passionate about something else.
You don't have to be passionate about something else. It could be...
But you don't resonate with this part of yourself that you think you are.
Or, yeah, you can say it like that too. Or it's mostly like you have arrived the destination of what you thought was your life, and you don't seem to enjoy it. So suddenly you understand, like, oh, I imagine myself to have a job as a doctor or an engineer or something that I thought I would like, but now I am here and I'm not enjoying it. So is this me? And I would feel
That could be a case. I think an identity crisis doesn't have to be as big as that. I think identity crisis can also be, but maybe that it doesn't actually, maybe it's not called an identity crisis, but questioning who you are because of different things. I think if we're very reflective as people, you're kind of aware of how you are built as a person, then you can constantly be questioning, who am I actually? And it kind of feels like you never really find it.
Yeah, at the same time, I could say, like, not everyone thinks so deeply about themselves. So a lot of people just move with the flow of life. And they kind of imagine, like, at some point I'll understand who I am, but that time never arrives. So basically, you are a young person who looks around the world, who looks at all the older people thinking that, oh, these people might know who they are. And maybe when I reach their age, I understand who I am. But then years forward, you are in their age and you don't understand who you are.
Maybe. And maybe you are a person who already thinks, oh, I know who I am. I'm so self-confident. And then shit hits the fan, and then, something happens in life, and then suddenly you start questioning that. That can happen too, reversed. That you think you know, but then you don't.
Yeah.
And you restart.
But I don't kind of get that point. Can you explain a little bit of that kind of...
I'm seeing some people are very confident and feel like, I know who I am. I know what I believe in. I know what I like. I know, like, a feeling of knowing who I am. So you can have that for a long time. Then you can arrive to a crisis through something big happening. What could it be? Like you say, the big thing, not liking your job at all that you thought you were really identify with. Or maybe getting fired from a big position. You're not the boss anymore, Maybe something happens and you go from a big success to a big failure. Suddenly, you're not the big success anymore.
Or I have a good example. Think about someone who's extremely religious, who thinks like, oh, this institution that I believe is the form of purity. This is how I communicate with God. And then you kind of realize there is a scandal erupting. For example, the church had always been associated with child molestation, right? And you kind of see this as part of you. Like, I am belonging to a certain religious group, and it's my belief, and this institution is supposed to be pure. And then you read all these kind of things, maybe you come in contact with this kind of experiences, then you also kind of start questioning, am I this religion? Or
absolutely, it's just like your story, you were not maybe super innately religious, but you were kind of religious as a kid, and then in time you learned that no, this is...
But I never associated religion with my identity. No. But I could see, like, from where I'm coming from, a lot of people are born and they are taught this is the way to think. So religion is extremely connected to people's identity. You're supposed to go to church on Sundays. You're supposed to go for Sunday school. And this kind of, when you live in this kind of bubble for a very long time, you cannot differentiate who you are and what religion is, right? And then whatever the religion does, you need to support it. Or you will come always to this point where you question, if I subtract religion from my life, who am I? Do I have some value? So
a lot is built around that, right? Your identity is usually built in. A lot of your social circles are a part of your identity, if it's the religion or something else.
The same goes to high achieving jobs. I have seen, like, for example, I have one of my favorite colleagues in the office. She works extremely hard. So I can see that, she thinks she is this high achieving, hard working individual who is destined to go up. And I have been there as well at some point. But the problem is that once you reach where you want to reach, like you go up and then you kind of get what you want, then you see the pointlessness of that. And that also triggers a kind of identity crisis. Like, okay, I have reached the destination where I thought I should be reaching, and there is nothing to be enjoying about this situation. So that also triggers identity crisis. At the same time, okay, let's move to the next question. I believe that it is important to change identity based on the situation you are put into or the location where you live. What do you think about that? Is your identity something that is fixed, or should it be changing based on life, how life goes on?
It changes naturally.
Huh?
Maybe you want to stop it. Too bad. You can.
Huh?
I mean, you can see like some people maybe who can't integrate into society, really hold on maybe to their religion, or maybe they feel like they can't integrate. So they hold on to their previous religion and maybe ethnicity where they come from even stronger because they're not accepted into the society. But if it's not such a thing, like if I come from another country and I don't feel a push away, I feel I can connect with people and I can be a part of. So I naturally change in connection with them because it's a new culture, new language, new. Maybe what's normal in different ways is new, right? How we see sexuality, for example, in Sweden, and LGBTQ rights and everything's such a big topic. Absolutely self-evident that you support that you are a feminist, much more than where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
And I absorbed it as it
Mm-hmm.
because it becomes a part of me.
And also
I
some,
could have been against it, like my parents. They moved to Sweden with me, but they never changed the way I did. They also changed, but they became opposite. They became stronger in what they already believe.
and I tell you, like, that could have to do, like, or I really believe that has to do a lot with age. Because when you are in a certain age, you feel like I have this worldview that
I think it changes faster when you're young.
exactly, because it's not formed yet, or it's not formed as strong.
Later in life, you need to be if you want to change your identity better, you need to be more. You need to be more reflective. Am I always like pushing the world that is full of change? And yes, I'm just really comfort in my comfort zone of who I am and what I believe. That's what. It's a risk. We get stuck there. So we need to be a bit more active and embracing maybe the world changing around us, just for basic acceptance, but also for self-improvement.
Yes, but it's also hard for people to understand there is no absolute truth, right? Like, because people really want to believe that, oh, there is this absolute truth, or like there is this true or false, or like a sin or some blessing on the side. Like,
Everybody wants to believe that, but I think with age, you start to get settled in what you think, and you are like done figuring it out. Now you want to teach others how things are.
yes,
You have learned, now you're teaching, but you're never done learning, actually.
yeah, in reality, you're never done, because it's much more complex than being right or wrong. There is so much gray areas in between. But I would say, like, just wrapping up this question, I would say it's very important for whoever is watching it to be able to change your identity based on the challenges life puts in front of you. And the reason is because world is changing, technologies are changing, the way people think are changing. And if you don't move with it, what happens is that you get stuck on a bubble of time that is long gone. And then you're not suitable for this world. And then you start feeling alone. You feel that kind of stress that no one understands me. So it's important to be always agile, or always ready to change. Yes.
Change is okay. You're never done learning, and change is till you die. That's just a circle.
Exactly. Now, how do we overcome identity crisis? Or how should we think about overcoming identity crisis?
Well, what do you think?
So I think that it's always about the way you think about identity crisis. Why not see it as an opportunity to kind of self-reflect? For example, you believe a certain group of people are quite bad, which is very, very like understandable depending on the kind of society where you're from. For example, like religious group in India is always seen as something bad, and all the blame is put on them. But imagine you are on the good side of things, that you believe you are the righteous one who's looking at someone bad. Now imagine that you start seeing they're doing a lot of good for society and for you as well.
Suddenly, one of these members saved your child from a car accident.
Exactly. So now the question is, should I change my view on this group of people? And if I change my view of these people, would I call it a crisis in my identity?
You see, it depends how you feel about it as well.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that instead of seeing that as a crisis in identity, whatever you do, try to see it as you constantly evolving as a person and you becoming more fit for the world. You're becoming that kind of a small group of people who can take the shape of wherever you go. So I think that's a very powerful trait to have, and that might be the way to overcome identity crisis.
Sounds good to me.